This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, the time being 4:45, I'd like to call this meeting of March 21st to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. All right, good evening, folks. First off, I'd like to announce that we have 3 rather nice donations from $500 from Nate Langione for the dog waste stations that we'd like to put down on the main street. We have $100 from Michael and Megan O'Brien for the senior center, for the use of the senior center. And that's Emily's daughter. And $25 from Lynn Dadian for the senior center donation. I'd like to make a motion to accept all 3 of these donations. Thank you very much.
Jessamine, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for your donations. Okay, we are going to talk about the adoption of the hazardous mitigation plan. Is Dave coming tonight?
No, he's not. No.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I have answers to Selectman Dawson's statements, and I'd like to pass those out to the board.
Okay. I had a couple of other questions as well, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So if you, if it's okay with the board, were there any other selectmen that had questions about the hazardous mitigation plan? Did everyone read it? Okay, and so Catherine and myself had I had questions. Mine was more of the process rather than what's in the book itself. So if it's okay, why don't we start with page 1 of Catherine's questions, and it starts with on page 10 in the Tilton hazardous chart. Earthquake is listed as number 3, while severe winter weather is listed at number 5. The same appears on page 12. Since 2023, New Hampshire has 19 quakes of magnitudes up to 2.9 that are listed as minor on the Richter scale, felt by a few, rarely caused damage. On the other hand, we have had numerous severe winter weather bring freezing rain, snow, and hail, which results in electrical outages, people without heat and water, downed trees, dangerous road conditions, motor vehicle accidents, and emergency vehicles slowed or delayed in responding to emergencies. One major ice storm in 2008 left approximately 440,000 without power for 2 weeks. It cost over $30 million in damages in New Hampshire. There have never been any major damages in New Hampshire caused by earthquakes. Every year we have major winter storms that cause major damages and threatens the lives of our residents. Earthquakes should be listed as low in white down by avalanche and landslide, which should be listed as 0 risk or not listed. We do not have a mountain or steep slope in Tilton. Page 43 and 44 identify that there are no locations in Tilton at risk for landslide or avalanches. And their answer is landslide and avalanches cannot be removed. The low risk should be stated. What does that mean?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously my concern was where earthquakes is listed, which I still think is absurd.
Been earthquake last night.
Yeah, 2.2.
That time it was 2.2. What's to stop the earth from moving 5.7
So
or more?
most would tell you that there are no faults in New Hampshire. Some would tell you the faults. Other authorities would tell you that we have faults that are 60 million years old. And the reason we shake a bit is because of the Atlantic fault, which is way to our east shakes, and deep in the bedrock we shake. That's why our earthquakes are so small. I think the biggest one was what? In Ossipee or something? But every year, we have storms that cause damage, death, power outages, harm to our residents. And I'm sorry, earthquakes should not be above that. Look at the storm we just had this weekend. There were people without power, and some of them, I'm not sure if they've all gotten their power back yet.
I don't know.
Okay. So that hasn't answered it, and I don't think we've gotten an answer on this one either. So the ability to change this, do we have that ability to change? And that was one of my questions. Can we change page 10 and move that down below?
The answer, Madam Chair, is yes, because this is a guiding document, not a legal agreement. So I thought our EMD would be here tonight because he is in charge now of the maintenance of this plan. And with the committee, which has been scattered now, some people have left, he'll have to form a new committee for 2024, and they will look at that and then report back to Lakes Region, to Homeland Security, Emergency Management, and then back to the board.
Okay, so the possibility of moving earthquake down below in where the landslide and avalanches are, and moving up the others would be a possibility.
Would be a possibility and something that the EMD would work on, yes.
Okay, board, what is your take on that?
We can move this stuff around. They presented us with a plan, which if we accept it, we can change it to accurately reflect where we see the problem is.
Okay, so I
That's
see,
my take on it anyway.
if you look at page 10, earthquakes is pretty high up there. If we move that down a little bit, I don't think it's gonna, at this point in time. Do you have your
I'm just pulling
paper
it up,
here?
pulling it up now.
Okay. Everybody want to take a look at it? I could pass page 10 around if you want. Here's page 10.
It's 10 and 12.
There's page 10.
It's on page 12 too.
10 and 12.
Yeah, it's really the same chart with a little more information on it.
Here's page 12.
The only thing I had questions, and I brought up at the previous meeting, was for damage caused by the river onto the roads. If it was to like wash out 3 and 11 or other roads, Route 3, the Winnipesaukee River, it just doesn't seem to be mentioned on there. And we know that that's a issue that's happening or in progress of happening.
Can I answer that, Madam Chair? So I don't want to jump ahead, Selectman Scanlon, but if we don't adopt this plan, there will be no chance of any getting mitigation grants to do the very thing you're talking about.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
So we could still address that even though
Right.
it's not listed as a hazard on the plan?
Mhm.
that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Okay. So, all right, are we all in favor of changing that? Okay. All right. Paul, we're all in favor of changing the first portion of
Thank you.
Catherine's concern here. All right.
So would we go list the winter weather and the
Right. And
severe winter weather? What
that
number
would
would that be
move up.
to where?
Well,
Oh.
I mean, you don't have to,
Doesn't it just
you just take out earthquake, put it down there
and
with
then
landslide and avalanche, and then everything automatically
it
moves
just
up.
automatically
Okay,
moves up.
so-
Right.
We just slide up.
Right. Okay, page 25.
But that's just an observation. That was just a question, so and he answered it,
The
which
committee's
I
decision.
suspected, but it.
Okay. Do you, we all happy with that? We okay with that? It's depends on the
Well, it's
The-
like I said at the end of this, it's a living document, so we can change that, but I was just pointing out that it seemed
Yeah.
absurd.
Go ahead.
So, Madam Chair, if I may say, our previous land use coordinator was working on the flood plans and attended one of those FEMA meetings to discuss that virtually. It was a virtual conference call. So,
Okay.
But I'd
All
hope
right.
she was attending as a land use coordinator, not a code enforcement officer, because land use coordinator would make sense.
There's the detail, okay? Because
Yes.
was it land use coordinator and not the code enforcement officer.
that is correct. It was
Okay.
the land use coordinator.
Right. And in the book, it says code enforcement officer. So we probably need to change that. All right. Page 47, elderly housing, Peabody is listed in the vulnerability chart. The Peabody home is in Franklin, not Tilton. New Franklin apartment is the elderly housing in Tilton. We do not have a nursing home or assisted living facility for the elderly in Tilton. Name change, perhaps used to be called Peabody Home? No,
Nope.
absolutely not.
No.
So it needs to come. Go ahead.
So Dave Jeffers has already changed it to the Franklin Apartments in his document.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's been changed. Move on. Page 60, although it would be aesthetically pleasing if Eversource and other owners of the utility lines and poles would put their utilities underground, the town could not legally spend taxpayers' dollars to relocate property that is not owned by the town. The mitigation action on page 60 is an existing action and was already in the 2015 plan. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's what plan it is, it's still illegal for us to spend taxpayers' money on wires and cables and poles that are not
The only
owned by
thing
the,
we can realistically do is encourage them
to get
to
grants
do
and stuff.
so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We can absolutely encourage them to do that. So, uh, and then this is what it says for the answer. FEMA requires the town, not encourages, to continue to try to mitigate. This may not occur in the next 5 years, and that's okay. The town can state in the next plan why: lack of funding, staffing, etc. So they want us to try to mitigate with the utilities to have them underground. We're not paying it. They're not asking us to pay for it, but what they're asking us is to mitigate to put it underground.
And what we should be doing is talking to them about, you know, can they shut off sections of the power if we do have an emergency? You know, we have an ice storm and the lines go down
Mm.
on Main Street. Can they shut those off? Can they isolate areas? Blah, blah,
Right.
blah. That's a conversation.
Right.
I think I said that in 2015 too, because I didn't sign it in 2015. But anyway, and like I said, the top one at the page for me was the deal breaker. The rest of these are just observations.
All right. And then, Bamford Brook, did you get that name changed?
Madam Chair, that's been changed, yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
All of our maps say Winding Hill Brook, and the legislative body of this town changed the name to Bamford Brook, I think in the 80s, 90s. Voted town meeting, changed it to Bamford Brook. So that should be corrected on all our maps.
Okay, and then the 74, the identify the committee, and I'm still confused on the committee because on one page it lists the committee, it lists John Scanlon, and I don't believe John Scanlon was on the committee, were you?
Oh.
But it lists on page 102, it lists you on the committee, but then on page
Or
4, it does not list you on the committee.
A little bit confusing.
Madam
Well,
Chair, can I?
And,
Go
and-
ahead.
And
Sorry.
the stuff on page 4 was acknowledgements. So it wasn't necessarily the committee. Should have been. And
Right.
it does say Board of Selectmen,
Right.
so.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
So now that our chief is here, the EMD, he will have to rearrange the committee and
All right. So going
organize
forward, we'll have
for 2024.
going forward, we'll have a completely different list of committee members on here. And I believe it was Scott was on the committee prior to that, correct?
No,
No, you weren't?
no. Mm-mm.
You're listed as a member? Right there.
Yep.
DMD and Chief Hines was lieutenant. We obviously at the end, I was in that role at those meetings. States in 74A in rotation, obviously, I'm the EMD, so I will establish it and with the board of selectmen, we establish it. Proceed.
Is there a selectman representative in the committee?
Is there a selectman representative in the committee? Should there be?
Should there be?
I guess that would be
Okay. Do you, okay, so
So
you
we'd
you can,
establish that.
you can establish that later. I was gonna ask if there was one that wanted to step up and be on that, but we can establish that later. All right, because there's 3 selectmen listed here, and I don't think any one of them were on the committee.
I was
Actively,
on 2 times ago.
Yeah,
Me and Sandy Plessner.
right,
Chief Cormier.
yeah, when it was the Chief Cormier, right. Um, Okay, so we've got that established. You're gonna make the correction on the, what was really the catalyst on
Page
the,
10, yes.
right?
Yep.
And then, other than that, then I believe we're ready to sign the document or no?
As grant money is pending our signature, I would say we can make the necessary adjustments. But we should sign the document, get that moved forward. And I would say that I don't like the idea that all of a sudden it's come up last second. But it is what it is at this point.
Do you remember this coming to us in 2022 in its entirety? I don't.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to know that.
I
don't
know,
know.
I didn't even know my name was put on here. It's been on it.
I don't
Nobody
remember.
told
Do
me.
you have a
Scott didn't
document?
know
I
before
would have loved
that.
to.
No, I mean,
But
all I've heard from Dave was that the committee worked with the town administrator, and that was it. I mean,
Do you have a
not.
document to sign for
I
hazardous
bet yes, I
mitigation?
do.
Okay.
It was a draft back then. I think
Right.
that we went on, it's now been implemented. Gap of when it was presented, the final draft to the board to me. I need to see if I have a draft that was sent to me by the forester. Around the time we had Rogers was the chair at the time, he was at December.
Yeah.
And still a draft.
back in 22, I think it was
Yeah.
December 22.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They had a
yeah.
public
Okay,
hearing.
I'm going to read this because this is the certificate of adoption. Whereas the town of Tilton has historically experienced damage from natural hazards and it continues to be vulnerable to the effects of those natural hazards, as profiled in this plan, potentially resulting in loss of property and life, economic hardship, and threats to the public health and safety. Whereas the town of Tilton has developed and received approval pending adoption from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for its hazardous mitigation plan update 2022 under the requirements of 44 CFR 201.6. And whereas public and committee meetings were held between June 9th, 2021 and December 15th, 2022 regarding the development and review of the Tilton Hazardous Mitigation Plan Update 2024. And whereas the plan specifically addresses hazardous mitigation action and plan maintenance procedures for the town of Tilton, and whereas the plan recommends several hazardous mitigation actions, projects that will provide mitigation for specific natural hazards that could impact the town of Tilton, with the effect of protecting people and property from the loss associated with those hazards. And whereas adoption of this plan will make the town of Tilton eligible for funding to mitigate the impacts of future hazards, now thereof be it resolved by the Board of Selectmen. The plan is hereby adopted as an official plan of the town of Tilton. The respective officials identified in the mitigation action of the plan are hereby directed to pursue implementation of the recommended actions assigned to them. Future revisions of the plan and maintenance required by 44 CFR 201.6 and FEMA are hereby adopted as a part of this resolution for a period of 5 years from the date of this resolution. An annual report on the progress of the plan's mitigation action items shall be presented to the Select Board by the Emergency Management Director. In witness whereof the undersigned has affixed his or her signature in the town seal of the town of Tilton this date, and then the board's signatures. So I make a motion that we sign the adoption of the hazardous mitigation plan update 2024
With amendments mentioned.
As corrected, or as
as
amended?
corrected,
As amended?
as amended.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll get Kim up here for the seal. Done.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, would it be okay with you on the board if I left the meeting to take that when you've signed it, so I can send it over to Lakes Region Planning and they can send it to Homeland Security this evening because of the deadline?
Yeah, you're not gonna be here for the non-pub.
I'll just go and do it and come back up. Yes.
Okay.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah, is that all right with the board? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Appreciate
That's
it.
great, thanks.
Yep,
That'd be
thank you.
perfect. That's what it is.
We need your seal. Okay,
Can Paul bring it down?
what's that?
Can Paul bring it down?
Yeah.
So she's got the seal
She has
downstairs.
Yeah.
Kim has the seal. She'll be up in a couple of minutes, but
Okay.
she has a customer and.
Thank you.
Can you bring it down there? So on your way down.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Paul.
We've adopted it. You are more than willing to borrow mine if you'd like to peruse through it, if you.
I read the draft, I'll wait for the.
Okay. Okay. I think that, just a technicality on our minutes. We don't have minutes here, but I noticed in the minutes, and it's just maybe I'll just bring it up next week. We'll just bring it up next week. And then we have minutes in front of us so that I can explain it. We could do it that way. Not a biggie.
There she is.
Okay, town clerk, tax collector will affix the seal.
Should we
And
have
it's-
her sign and attest to it?
Well, go ahead, Kim, you go ahead, do that. While she's doing that, I want to bring up a parking issue that we have up here on the municipal parking. We have a vehicle, truck, 2 trucks, pickup trucks, where we've in the past given permission to have them on the employee side. They should be, thanks, Kim, appreciate it. Where they've in the past been an employee, they're no longer an employee. They need a sticker for overnight. In park on the opposite side where we've given permission for, sort of on the Cape Cohen side, where we've given them permission to do the overnight. Both trucks continue to be on the employee municipal side overnight, and it's causing problems with plowing, particularly in this 20-inch with the snow. Are we all in agreement with that?
Just comment on, there's a sign there, it was reserved for a town employee. It's like 24/7
Oh, that's
reserved.
right.
That we should remove that sign because we don't have a town employee who needs to park there all 24/7. So I think you know the sign I mean. It's all the way down by the fire station. And then that would just become what type of parking? Municipal with the up till 5 or whatever that section
8 to
is.
5. 8 to 5 again.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's a town employee, reserved for town employee. It's still the same, right? Because nobody,
It's presently that those are reserved for town employees until 5 or 8 p.m. Yeah, they're only reserved until 5.
p.m.
And we don't let anybody park overnight, that's, I'm not supposed to. Let
Yeah.
them park overnight. Just overnight, and in the morning, they don't leave, they work a midnight.
right?
So that vehicle's not the only one, just to make it clear. There's several vehicles we've had issues with.
Yeah.
We've had officers go out. We actually put out a memo the other day.
It,
Solved.
it's become an issue because the employees coming in at 7:30, 8, they're not finding parking spaces for themselves now to come to town hall to come to work. And that's an issue.
So the sign says no parking between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Okay, so if somebody's there at midnight, they can park there because it's not 7 a.m. I know people are come into work, but I mean, technically,
It's always been,
Yeah.
we've never let anybody park there after hours, just because in the
Mm.
morning they bleed over. We have to change the signage, I have to look at it and try to adjust that.
The
And
sign
so-
would have to
so-
reflect
exactly,
that, because if he
exactly.
gave out 4
Yep,
tickets last night and it was after 5 p.m.,
yep,
it's like, well, that seems like a problem.
and
Let us know if the sign has to be changed or
yeah,
anything.
there's gotta be something, I'm obviously, I
Yeah.
have a lot
Right.
more other things on my mind, but I know
Yeah.
that
Right.
going through nothing's changed with those signs.
Right.
We went to purple stickers, we went to the other side, we put signs on. I know that there's something there in the ordinance or somewhere that we already addressed that. I just can't think of the top of my head. I know that we didn't overlook that and not know that sometimes it's to park overnight. So I just have to remember.
there was
exactly what it
something
is
with allowing onions
on the other side.
on the other side. Is that what it was?
Right,
So
on
the
the other
problem-
opposite side, right.
The ordinance directs people where they can park overnight, but it's obvious our signage isn't agreeing with it.
Well, if I can make it, the whole thing is kind of all over the place just because of these spots that we lost. I have to go out there. I drove around probably about 2 weeks ago. I seated around and I counted how many spots that we have currently, what our fire department reserved, what our handicap, what spots are reserved that are roped off over there, because there's like 4 spots that are reserved that are open, all the rest are roped off. And then you have to then factor in, what do you have left for parking spots? What would happen is, as you come off the school street, that's Lot D. Lot D, on the municipal side, you used to park it all. The other side, we would not let anybody park in that area also overnight. The reason is, in the winter, highway DPW would pile the snow there. Just easier than to maneuver when they did clean the snow. We left always, except for the 2 handicap spots at the very end on School Street. When we lost those spots, we had a couple vehicles that parked over there. We wrote everybody pretty much tickets, and everybody come the next day and say, there's no spot. Well, I get that all the time, there's no spots. I couldn't, in my gut, make say that those spots, there really were no spots. The 3 years, the statistics that I brought up with parking, maybe 4 years, every year we've given out 100 parking passes in. Last year it was 67, and this year we're tracking, that was kind of the reason, like, well, 4 months into it, we're only at 40. Long story short, we have to figure out how many spots. This is A lot, this is D lot, this is B lot, C lot. G and H is your Tilton House of Pizza. Your E lot is over here. Your F lot at the parking. We have to figure out exactly how many spots we have and how many cars or vehicles are parking overnight, so that I can buy the right amount of tickets or permits. So as of right now, we don't want anybody parking on the municipal side. We're allowing, even though the sign says do not park overnight, on the other side. And that is because all those spots, I don't know how many are gone now, and I just have to, once it gets warmer up.
So we'll table that till next week
Yeah.
and you figure it all out.
We'll do it.
Figure out what we need
All
for
right, just keep
signs.
your,
and do it.
we will put that on the agenda 2 weeks from now, but go ahead, go, Paul. We'll put it on our agenda 2 meetings from now, because the
Yep.
next meeting is filled.
And while you were at the parking, there were questions about the spots from here up to Mechanic Street that they say 2 hours, but people park there all day and night. So, yeah.
Paulus comes down, says parking Wednesday, Thursdays all the time. And the other days that he's on, He'll be out there, some officers out during the day. Talking and moving people along.
And even, I know even in the evening, because you have businesses, restaurants. And,
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
all right. We're done. The time being 5:20. Is there any more? I gotta read from here first.
Oh, okay.
5:20. I'm gonna put here for you, 5:20.
Thank you.
Because I have to read from here. The time being 5:20, I'd like to make a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91A:32A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any employee or the discipline of such employee or the investigation of any charges against him or her unless the employee affected has a right to a public meeting, and 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted, and RSA 91A:3-2B, hiring of any person as a public employee.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Dawson, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Skin, yes.
Constantino, yes. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Nice to see you. Happy Easter.
This conference will now be recorded.
It's got one thing to do. We on? Oh, yeah.
All set? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to seal the minutes of the meeting of March 21st, 2024, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the board permanently.
Second, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So, Madam Chair, this is the job description for the land use coordinator. And as Selectman Dawson asked, the job description has gone to the chair people of both planning and zoning to see if the responsibilities needed to be altered, added or deleted. This is just the job posting.
Oh, the posting, not the description.
No, this is the job posting, which I've passed through our building inspector, who advised me to keep it simple.
Yeah, my suggestion is that we don't put land use coordinator, land use assistant, land use.
No, this is for the coordinator, Selectman. This is
Okay,
not the technician.
So I don't like those technician coordinator. I don't like those titles. Okay. The problem is people look at that and go, oh, wow. And the job seems more complicated because we give them those titles.
That's why you want to change it, because it seems more complicated.
Well, I think we would have more people apply, more qualified people apply. I mean, after all, a good executive secretary could do this, administrative secretary could do this, but they might look at that because it's municipal government, and maybe they haven't worked in municipal government, and they'd be going, what does a land use coordinator do? I don't have any, education there, but if you look at the jobs that we have, I mean, and quite frankly, land use coordinator, I believe, is Leanne's position.
Yes,
is it
that's
not?
right.
So
That's the one we're trying to fill.
That's what
that job is doing everything that a good secretary would be doing, organizing, making dates, appointments.
No, I get it, but the term secretary.
Why don't we just leave it on?
I suggested land use assistant or land use or
I mean.
Land use administrator.
oh, even that sounds.
It's the boards that are administrating stuff. But, the coordinator, that's what they do. They coordinate the
So don't secretaries.
app, but nobody uses the word secretary.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's fine. Send it off, but I'm just saying.
So the position that you have approved for the job posting and the job description on March the 7th is for land use technician. That's the one that you approved on 3/7.
Right, well, we got that part. Catherine is toying with the idea of changing the title to the office.
I don't care what we call them. They're going to know what their job description is,
Right.
regardless of the title we give them.
So what
These are
we
the tasks they do.
advertise. What the other towns call it?
LUC, land use coordinators,
Other
or
towns use that?
land use
Some
coordinator,
do.
community development coordinator, community development being land use, building, zoning.
I'll leave it just the way it is. We've been
It's not, just let it go. It's not a big deal.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Yep.
All right. So
I need.
is everybody okay with this posting?
Yes.
Everybody okay? Yeah?
Thank you, thank you.
All right. The posting, we're okay.
Back up. The
Yep.
land use coordinator reports to the Board of Selectmen.
And the town administrator.
Hasn't the planning board and zoning board really top billing here?
In terms of supervision, perhaps, but they're a town employee, and all town employees report to us. And yes,
So,
frankly, they take.
I respectfully disagree, but let's
Well-
just get her done.
No. Hold on a minute. It reports to, as far as what you're looking at, Catherine, they report to us. We're going to do their evaluation on them. Then we're going to do all of that on them. But as far as the job is concerned, they're in their job description, it's going to say planning board, zoning, all of
I
that.
know this,
Okay.
but in here it makes it sound like they don't report to the planning board or zoning board, but they report to us. But just let it go. They work for the planning board and the zoning board. They may report to us to FYI what's going on, but they report to the zoning board and planning board. But let it go. It's just, it's a small thing. Let it go. It's,
Reports
I
to
think
the
we-
Board of Selectmen and the town administrator, and also receives assignments from the chair.
what are they gonna report?
It'll make a difference in the
We were
newspaper
getting
ad.
quarterly reports sometimes.
Okay,
Everything will be explained to the proper candidates at the proper time.
Usually you write an ad to catch people's attention and get them to come in. This one gives them an awful lot of bosses.
all right. Make a motion, we accept the land use coordinator posting. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
I,
Let the record show I said no.
Okay, let the record show we have one no. Okay. Is there any other business to come before us in a public session?
I have a question.
Yes.
We're having the public hearing next week. Are they gonna give us any information on what they're gonna be discussing at the public hearing?
I hope so, because I understand that Lakes Region Planning already gave it out to people on Lakes Region Planning. I heard that today. I asked,
Did you? Did they really?
did you get it?
No.
Maybe we had to contact somebody and say, hello.
Well, we have our representative to Lakes Region Planning, and she said that she's already gotten something on Caleb Hill.
But why would, we're dealing with DOT.
It might be something different that she was talking about. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I haven't
Can we
seen it.
find out if we're gonna get any kind of
We-
outline
We,
or,
we are, yes.
well, when are we?
Ahead of
I
time?
don't
Ahead
wanna
of
walk
time, Monday. I mean,
Monday?
Monday.
Can you, as soon
Yeah.
as you get it, will you forward it to us?
yes, I shall.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
Yep. All right.
I just don't, yeah.
Is there any other business to come before us in a public meeting? Joseph,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.